Welcome back to Lean Defined. This is Mozzie, NASM certified personal trainer. So the topic that I have is about picking a goal and sticking with that goal. And this is kind of something that was suggested to me actually by somebody else. But I think there's a common thing where people have this idea of what they want to do, but they never stick with it long enough. Or if there's any sort of things that get in the way, or maybe they can't attend to it for a period of time, they end up just giving up. So this is kind of what I'm looking at right now, just by kind of thinking about this. So it's important that you have a goal in place of what you want. And I would say a long term goal as well as an incremental goal. And I think it's also important that you have a plan of how to get there. And that can be done. You can research, you can ask a personal trainer, there's a lot of different options available to you. So, point number one is make sure that the goal is something that you want and you feel like you can actually maintain. Because if you can't maintain it, there's like, what's the point? So, um, kind of think about it. Is this something that you want? Is this something you can actually maintain? For example, like if a guy wants to get his weight down to 160, can he eat the number of maintenance calories in order to sustain that weight? Same thing for a girl. Maybe a lot of girls want to be 110 or 120 pounds. But the reality is, at that weight, your maintenance calories are very low. So unless you're like really active, it's very hard to maintain that weight in the long run. So you have to kind of look through it. Not only like, do I want this, but can I actually maintain this as a lifestyle? Sometimes the reality is some people may be better off weighing a little bit more because it's something that they can sustain. So maybe 110 for that girl may be too low. Maybe she's more comfortable and can sustain 130. It depends on a lot of things. Some people really just like to eat a lot, and it's hard for them to maintain a lower body weight as a result. So you got to kind of look into it. And the other thing about like make sure you want it is a lot of times people go for goals based on what other people want for them, or what other people think that they should want, or what they think other people want. So I think it's important to ask, like, what is it that you actually want yourself? The next thing is make sure to stick with whatever goal you have once you make it. So stick with it for maybe 2 or 3 months before you really make a solid judgment of whether or not it's working. Don't be too quick to put it aside and be like, this doesn't work. Granted, you have a decent plan in place, stick with it. As far as the exercises go, you can modify your exercises. Don't feel like you have to, like, oh, I have to do these exercises for 2 to 3 months. But my point is the general idea between your exercise and nutrition and activity and all that, try to sustain it for 2 to 3 months before you come to any judgment. Um, Now, if no changes are happening, then you can make little modifications to enhance what's going on. Number three, I think it's really important that you're not disrupted by new information. So, like, let's say you're talking to someone at the gym, or like your gym bro or whatever, and they tell you that the plan you have is garbage or they don't like it. Don't be so quick to drop it just because one or two people tell you that. Just have the fortitude to just keep on going with it, and because there's gonna be so many opinions out there, by people who aren't even qualified to give you proper advice. So unless we're talking about like a safety concern, I say just stick with doing what you're doing and don't be quick to give up. And this kind of goes along with the last thing that I said, but try to make sure to weigh yourself once a week to see what the trajectory of your weight is. For example, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain muscle, which ultimately makes you gain weight, also for that purpose, you can regularly weigh in to see what's going on. On top of that, I would suggest also measuring your waist circumference with a measuring tape. You can do that in two ways or both. You can do it by starting the measuring tape at your belly button and going all the way around. Another is measuring the smallest part of your waist and going around, and then writing these numbers and the dates down so you can monitor your progress as you go. I know it's a little bit of work, but I think it is worth it because it'll give you some additional information. And a lot of times, I typically, if that waist number is going down, it's a good sign for fat loss. So I do suggest getting those numbers. If you don't know your trajectory, if you don't know what direction you're going in, it's harder to like make the right choices. And actually, if you see the trajectory going in the wrong direction, that way you can make modifications to your lifestyle. You can move more, you can increase your step count, you can eat a little bit less, but you can take these steps to make changes so that you don't just keep going in the wrong direction. And this kind of goes with my initial point, but also keep your long-term goal in mind, but make sure your incremental goals are not overly ambitious. So don't make it too challenging for yourself, and kind of try to stick with things again within that 10 to 15 pound block, so you're not taking on too much, or it doesn't seem too far away. Because if your goal is 100-pound weight loss and that's what you're thinking, even if you lose like 10 pounds, you're going to feel like a failure because you only made 10% of your goal. So whereas if you're if you're going incrementally and you want to lose 10 pounds initially and you lose like 7, well that means you're 70% on your way to actually making that goal. And finally, don't become impatient and change your goals too quickly. Like, try to stick with what you're doing. Like, give yourself 2 to 3 solid months with the plan in place. Granted, it's a decent plan, before you start making judgments and dropping what you're doing, and kind of just see how your progress is, and then make more extreme modifications or do something different if you feel like that's not working for you. And obviously, like what we're talking, these concepts, it's like you need a calorie deficit if you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to gain muscle, you do need to do resistance training. I would suggest 1 to 3 days a week. So right now, if this applies to you, think about what you want. Develop a long-term goal, a short-term goal. Start thinking about things that you think, steps that you can take to move in that direction. But it's really important that you stick with your goal, because not just in fitness, like in life in general, like people who become successful or reach what they're trying to reach, the goals that they're trying to reach, or the things that they want to do in life, are people who are able to be consistent and resilient and just keep doing them. So it's really important, if you want success with your fitness goals, that you're able to be consistent, that you have a goal in mind, and that you don't give up too easily, and that you are able to keep that going. And sometimes, some weeks, you may not be on top of it. It's okay, you just keep going. With that said, this is Mozzie, NASM certified personal trainer here at Lean and Defined. Take care and stay active.